Hello, welcome. We're welcoming distinguished Professor Luisa Borrell from CUNY Graduate School of Public Health and Health Policy.
Good morning. It is my pleasure to be here. Thank you so much for inviting me.
No, it's our pleasure. I'd like to get the chance to speak with you. And this is Eja Kral. I'm a PhD student at Stockholm University. And today, like me and Luisa, will be talking about the importance of mentorship in academia.
As you mentioned, I am a distinguished professor in the School of Public Health in the City University of New York, CUNY, the Department of Epidemiology and Biostatistics, and I have been in academia for 21 years now.
Wow, that's a long time. Yeah, I can't imagine like someone better than you like to talk about the importance of mentorship. What should students actually look into in a mentor and reach out to them? What should be those criteria for students?
So students don't usually tend to know what they expect, because at the beginning, for you, for me, it's a power relationship. You feel that the mentor is, the supervisor is up there and I am down here. So they don't usually know what to expect or what to ask. So what I usually do when I meet with a student, first I ask them, what are your needs? Because every student is different. The first year you usually go very loose, but at the same time, I tell the student, you need to start thinking about your dissertation now, because every paper you write, everything you do in class should be on the topic that you are thinking about it. So that gives you some background when you're ready to write your proposal. But sometimes they don't know. So depending on the student, I meet with them every 2 weeks and every month, and we have conversation about that. How you think about your topic. Are you narrowing the topic? In addition to that, are you thinking about the data? What data source will you use? We encourage a lot the use of secondary data, publicly data, because it's easier and facilitate the process. But sometimes the question you have doesn't actually fit the data. So you have to either make some adjustment to that. But it is an individual process. And again, I keep reinforcing the student, this is not for me, this is for you. This is about you and this is your journey. I'm just going to be along you, but I want you to make sure that it is your voice. Exactly. In whatever you do. I feel like every student is different. So I usually set up a schedule depending on their needs, but I also ask them, if you think you need more time, you gotta let me know. Or if you think I'm being too intrusive by asking one meeting a month or something, you gotta let me know, because this is about you. Another thing that is important is to try to get a sense of what are the strengths and limitations of the student. Because sometimes even the limitation can become a strength at the end of the day. But the mentor had to identify that and identify how can we make it work. That's the kind of thing that you have to work, and without being judgmental, because you don't really know the struggle or the personal life of some student until you get in the dissertation process. When you develop a more intimate relationship with them and you basically communicate with them almost twice a week or almost every day, depending on the student. Like, for example, deadline. Some students have issues with deadline because they overcommit themselves or they underestimate the time that it's going to take them to complete a task. So for me, when I observe that this happened 1 or 2 times, so what I do is I say, okay, what is your deadline for this? Okay, so let's keep that. But in my mind, I program an extra week or an extra 2 or 3 days, because the other thing that I like to do is I like to be very responsible with students. So if you send me something, I like to turn it around within a week. And if it's something that is present, within 2 or 3 days. So I need to get my schedule program based on your schedule. So if you tell me I'm giving you something on Friday and I need it quick, I may do it over the weekend because I know you're waiting for it to move to the next step. But if I know the students sometimes say Friday and still it's Monday, the project's not there. So I probably be thinking, maybe I get this on Wednesday, despite the fact that she or he say Friday.
Yeah.
And then I program myself to do it the following weekend. I also have an open policy with students. Open door policy, meaning that if you have a question and I am in my office, you can just come and knock in the door. I feel that the thing that is more frustrating for a student is when they have a pressing question and they email the advisor or the mentor and they say, oh, I cannot see you until next week. What do you do in that time? Is that something that keep you from moving to the next step?
Of course. Of course.
So that's key.
Yeah,
that you feel comfortable approaching the mentor either via email, phone, Zoom, whatever is convenient to you. The other thing I also like to work with each student is that I like them to find what made them come to work or come to school every day. Because the dissertation is a lonely process.
It is, yeah.
No matter who is your mentor, it is a lonely process.
Yeah.
So you need to find something that you're passionate about it. And that you feel invested. That's when the student hit that aha moment, that made my day. When a student come to me and say, you know what, I finally love what I'm doing.
Wow.
I finally think that I got my aims and I like what I'm doing, and I think that I can do it. I can make a career out of this. And that's what you want, because you invest 2-3 years just in the research component.
Yeah.
And if you do something that you don't like it's going to come out in the presentation. It's going to make you unhappy, sometimes miserable.
Exactly.
Through the process, because you just feel like you need to finish. While if you're passionate about it, you definitely every day are not doing the work, but you're thinking about what is the next step, what is the next question I can look into this topic. And you keep yourself reading and you're refining your research. And when you present, it come out. It come out how invested you are in the topic. So to me, that's the rewarding part of this job.
Exactly. That sounds really, I'm so like impressed by how passionate you're talking about being a mentor.
I am. I'm very passionate about it.
Yeah. What happens if a student feels like the relationship is not working?
They should change. This is not a marriage. I always tell the student, this is not a marriage. We're dating. If this doesn't work, no hard feeling. You can look around and not a problem. But some students feel that they may get retaliation or that they get some dirty look. It shouldn't be that way. It shouldn't be that way. Our goal in the institution is to make sure that the student succeeds. And if that is not with me and it's with the person next door, I'm very happy with that.
Yeah. And what happens, like, I'm asking this question for, because I know that I have many friends just graduating from PhD, and they themselves soon will become a mentor for master students or BA students. And they're very like new and junior mentors. So what happens if they feel like they're putting all the effort in as a mentor, but the student is not responding well, or the student is just not responsive?
It's fine. It's fine. They will realize. And as I say to you, they talk to each other. When they talk to their friend and say, my supervisor or my mentor hasn't ever emailed me. And the other one say, that's funny. I always get email and I don't even respond. So then they start to appreciate the difference and they come back to you. You just gotta, it is a process. You just gotta let it flow and it will pay out at the end for both.
We, in the beginning, you actually mentioned that you supervise the bachelor students, master students, PhD students, and also I saw that you supervised some mentored some postdoctoral junior faculty. And what was the experience for you to mentor this many different people, and how is mentoring different for each category?
It's all based on the needs. So when it's for postdoc, it's about what can we do in this year or 2 years to prepare you for a faculty position or for whatever you want to go, because not everyone wants to be in academia. So people want to be in administration and the health department and the context of epidemiology or related field. They want to be in the Department of Health, or they want to be in pharmaceutical. So for me, it's about identifying what they want to do next to make sure that they get ready for the next step. If they're going to be in academia, then my push is for them to publish. If they want to be in pharmaceutical or in any other field, so I will make sure that they connect with people that can provide them with some background information about what the work is like and what they need before we can start a mentorship. And sometimes I do the lay work. I contact people and I say, this will be a good person for you to go and talk. So I make an introduction via email or whatever format and make sure that they get an appointment and go to talk to that person. And sometimes they come back and say, you know what, I thought that that's what I want to do, but after hearing what the tasks are, I don't think that's what I want to do. I may want to do academia, or I may want to do Department of Health, depending on other interests. So that's the focus for the postdoc. For the junior faculty, it's about what do you need to do to get tenure. The first thing that we want to do is, are there guidelines for tenure? If there are guidelines, so let's look at where you are and what you need to do. And also let's think about the timeline. Most tenure clock are 7 years. You need to be ready by 5. Because otherwise you're going to be pressured, and not everyone work well under pressure. So we strategize on that context. And what is the priority for tenure? Is it only publication? Is it grant application? Where the teaching matter, where the mentoring and service fit in? For some institution, scholarship is the most important. Teaching, not so much. Mentoring, don't even bother, because most of the time, junior faculty, they just, depending on the size of the institution, they just get master student. And as I told you at the beginning, the mentoring for master student is very different and it's quite light. But you just need to identify what is the goal of the process, so you keep the eye on the goal. And so far, most of my students have been promoted to associate professor.
That's great.
It's a student that I started with them. I have one student that I started at the master level. She stayed, did the PhD with me, and then went into faculty position, and now she's an associate, thinking about going for full. So it made me feel old, but that's a good thing. So, and sometimes we readjust. Maybe you are spending too much time here. Maybe we need to figure out what is it that need to be done, and maybe we can share with other students.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's always a reevaluation process.
Mm-hmm.
I pay attention also how they doing academically. I keep track of their progress, their GPA, although GPA is not important, but I keep track about how they doing in the classes. The other thing I always tell my students is that I expect they to be better than me. And I tell them that's in the beginning. So I think that boosts their confidence, and also raise a flag in their mind that I have some expectation of them. That they need to, somehow they need to meet that. And it's true. No matter how good I am, they're going to be better than me. Methods are changing.
Yeah.
Technology is changing. The field are changing. So no matter what. So I think that's something that is very important that we recognize in the mentoring situation. That even at the doctoral level, at some point, the students are going to be better than us. The curiosity, the exposure they have is very different than the one I had when I was a student. So it's a two-way learning relationship. If you feel that at a particular point you just want to mentor master a student, start there and see how you do. And if you identify a student that is good, try to keep them. Try to motivate them to go into a PhD. Work with your chair, your dean, and say, listen, this is a good student. I want he or she to stay here. And I want to make sure that we can figure out a scholarship for them, because that's another thing. You have to support the student, and you have to find ways to support them in a way that they be productive. Because if a student had to be doing 5 jobs to sort of figure out the living situation, no matter how good they are, is there only 24 hours a day.
Yeah.
So the best student I find are the ones that are doing the program full time. They have a job, but either they have a job in the school or working with me or working with another faculty. But I always tell the student, your priority is your coursework. The rest is a job. Yeah, I want you to learn, and I want you to sort of apply what you're learning in the classroom, but your priority is the coursework. And sometimes I had a student, I had to tell them, you know what, maybe you need to take a week off and focus on what you have to do, because you're not up to date. And sometimes they say, okay, sometimes they take a little bit, but then they come back and say, you know what, you were right. I needed that time. I couldn't concentrate in the two things at the same time.
Thank you so much, for showing so much passion for this topic.
Yeah, no, it's something that comes natural, because it's something that I really like to do. And I think it's probably the most rewarding part of being in academia. I get very distressed when a student come to me and tell me that they are not having a good relationship with their mentor or their supervisor, or whatever they call it. Because to me, I think it is our duty as professor to make sure that our student succeeds during the time with us.
Yeah, it's so good to hear that a professor thinks like this, because not everyone is thinking like this.
I know. But then probably they went into academia for the wrong reason.
Yeah.
Or maybe the institution have made them prioritize other things. Because sometimes I talk to my colleagues and I say, oh, I wish I had the time. And I say, you can make the time. I do the whole thing. I publish, I write grants, I teach. I love teaching because that's when you actually identify the best student and you can get a sense of who the student are. And I mentor and I do service. So I think you can do it all. You just have to be balanced and enjoy life too.
Yeah.
So I think it's some choices that you make in life and how you want to go about it. Once you mentor one student well, they talk and you start to get the wave. So that's how I started with mentoring master student, and some of them started to talk to another. And before I know it, it became part of my duties. A big part, actually. It took actually personal time because that wasn't part of my everyday schedule from the institution point of view. Even until this day, I am still listed in the Columbia website, and I get a student that tell me, I saw your name, I want to talk to you, and I have an account with Columbia, but I had to tell them my main appointment is at CUNY. If you want to work with me, maybe you want to consider come to CUNY. And believe it or not, I get some student that had changed their mind and had applied to CUNY.
Thank you so much for this amazing talk.
My pleasure. My pleasure.
And like, I just want to ask you, like, have we missed anything? Like, do you want to say some words to students on finding mentors, or like mentors on how to have a good relationship with their students?
Well, for a student, I think that they should talk to as many people as they can. Chemistry is important. If you meet a mentor and you don't feel that it's a person that you can relate to, that you can talk to, that you feel comfortable, doesn't matter how good it is, it's not going to work for you. So that's one thing. Second is you want to make sure that there is an equal distribution of the input that you get and the output that is expected. Because if you are getting hammered in the output without getting any input or feedback, that's not a good relationship.
Yeah.
And like I said at the beginning, relationships are not forever. If something doesn't work and you feel it early, just talk to the director of the program or to the chair and say, you know what, this is not working as expected. I was wondering if I can change. And that's okay. But find someone that is in your corner, that got you back.
Thank you so much, like, for showing so much passion for this topic. And I think if you're still mentoring, when we release this video, you will probably have more mentoring requests.
Well, you can put my email at the end.
Yes, totally, we can.
Okay, so it has been great talking to you, and I hope that this is helpful.